Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. I will try to speak about psychedelic research or psychedelics research that we have been involved for quite some time. Conflict of interest we shares in psychiatric clinic Zion limited liability company. We are still waiting for publishing and for the phase 3, which is to take place. By way of introduction, I will talk about psychedelic renaissance, which is a soaring increase of research trials, simply all the research that tries to understand the unique nature of psychedelics. I'd like to remind you of the words of David Nater, who said that what happened in 81 was a major censorship in psychiatric. That meant it was scheduled as substances or compounds with no therapeutic effect, even though effect was really robustly proven in a trial. Just to illustrate what it really means, looking at clinical trials, sites, psilocybin or LSD, and you see the following results. And yet, these are the diagnoses which you follow or monitor in terms of potentially effective treatment by psychedelics. We have also neurological, non-psychiatric diagnoses, etc., etc. It hasn't been. We haven't talked about the action of psychedelics. What is that breakthrough, revolutionary? I picked one diagnosis that means depression, because we call them fast-acting antidepressives. Many of you know what depression is like, what the symptoms are. We use antidepressants, standard ones, where we wait for 6 to 8 weeks before the full onset of effect or full effectiveness. Plus, there is quite a long period of time between, the onset of depression and the decision of the patient to simply see a psychiatrist. Plus, there are very many adverse effects, meaning that the patients may suffer for the period of months or years before they get access to proper therapy. It is revolutionary breakthrough, simply. These are the two, namely ketamine, psilocybin, and comparison and the change in depression symptoms. Well, after one dose of ketamine, quickly the depression symptoms disappear and the effect subsequently, so to say, fades out. With a single dose of ketamine, we usually talk about days only, but if you study the first psilocybin trial or study, we were talking about months. We participated in this study, which was the largest one with resistant depression. That means those who failed, or patients who failed to respond to treatment, those excluded, discontinued, and who were not on any drug whatsoever. They received just single dose, and there is an improvement of mood, obvious, and the primary effect was obvious thanks to 25 milligrams of psilocybin as against 1 that was used as the placebo control group. Now, if you compare it to traditional center treatment. This is a study published showing that after 6 weeks, psilocybin has comparable effects as citalopram. These were 2 doses, no placebo-controlled. Resistant patients discontinued, as again as citalopram group with doses every day. But what we cannot see here is that in the psilocybin only group, 2/3 experience remission. That means no symptoms of depression whatsoever, while in escitalopram there were 28% in remission only. We heard about psychoactive substances or psychedelics that may cause or lead to addictions, but with respect to standard psychedelics, this is not the case. On the very contrary, there is a huge potential for them to become candidate compounds in addiction therapy. And the study clearly shows the anti-addictive potential in addiction treatments. What do we do in this National Institute of Mental Health? So we used to be the Prague Psychiatric Center in the past, which then was renamed, and we've been in research ever since 2003. We got the grant for preclinical, so to say, study, as Mr. Horáček suggested. We are heavily involved in clinical trials now, which is our priority, using both or including both patients, healthy persons, plus patients with multiple conditions or diagnoses. One of the things we focus on is how to blind these studies. EMA, which is a regulatory authority, well, we know that efficacy has to be assessed as against the placebo group. How do you want to blind it? Because the person once getting psychedelics obviously experiences altered mind, and it's usually the person with him who also sees that. David Nutt had a nice lecture at the meeting who said that, well, in surgery we don't use placebo either, and it is accepted fully. It wouldn't be ethical to blind such studies. So what to do, how to approach it? Well, there are multiple scenarios, or options. One thing possible is to go for simply something that has a potential, therapeutic potential, and use a comparator with no effect or potential. And that's what we did at NIMH, and we've got 2 studies comparing the antidepressive effect of psilocybin as against ketamine, which is an authorized medicinal product, even though not for depression treatment. And we simply see pharmaco or drug-resistant depression group plus a strategy of rapid antidepressant response to depression comorbid with cancer. We have guidelines available which clearly suggest how to work or approach psychedelics, what the therapeutic room is to look like. This is the room in the NIMH where the patients are, so to say, walked through the session. And the first TRD blinding works, so it's good because neither the patients nor the doctors, nobody simply knew, simply it was blinded. And you can see immediate prompt improvement from moderate, severe to depression to remission with no symptoms. We don't know who got what. was administered. What we don't know the period or duration, symptom-free, whether it is comparable or not, or whether psilocybin has a longer-lasting effect or not. This is a study covered by papers in media. It is a sort of unique trial, since for the very first time this was funded, multicentric trial, huge multicentric trial funded by EU money, and other diagnoses were studied as well. Robert Shavers is the principal investigator, University of Groningen. There are multiple countries involved, and 4 non-psychiatric diagnoses are the main aim, which are with which we only have palliative treatment, which only aims to alleviate or relieve the symptoms. That means Hobson's, then sclerosis multiple, ALS, and APD, multisystem atrophy, which is incurable. The patients know about their poor state of health and anticipate death. So this is what the PA therapy trial focused on. Now, we have to approach it in the most advanced manner in order to approximate the authorization of psychedelics of psilocybin. We have 2 stages: open label extension, which means lower dose of psilocybin, and the option to get access to the therapy. It means that all those enrolled have a chance to profit therefrom. Next one is Rafael. That's a study focused on an entirely different population diagnosis, cardiology, after MI, ischemic disease, simply cardiac issues. And we do know that patients of this type are faced with very poor prognosis, so stress, lifestyle, etc. Prognosis, if stress is relieved, the prognosis improves, and we simply focus on change of lifestyle, change of approach to life, and perhaps the atherosclerosis or plaques might be reduced 1 year after psilocybin's therapy. Yet another interesting project is truly at the 3rd medical faculty, funded from the ministry or by the Ministry of Labour and Social Affairs, MOSA, focused on employment. It's a pilot project. We interview all kinds of stakeholders, asking about their approaches to PAT, and also with patients. It's a qualitative research, so we don't have quantitative data. And these are the basic approaches reported. In majority of cases, they are positive that PAT would be an option, but it's difficult to access, or it's not that available. And also regulation or laws have to be complied with, which do not allow for, so to say, broader application. 1-2 stories I shall share with you, I mean in the form of a video, I guess. Bearing in my GDPR, I've just picked couple of sentences, and it's actually said by artificial intelligence, AI. Well, I had a feeling it wouldn't do anything. I thought I would have some experience, and that the experience shall not have an effect on me or who I am and how I live my life. By the 3rd one, actually sustained, and it was unexpected. While immediately after I relive the experience, open, playful, free, in peace. It's about the inner experience, how the information comes from the innermost person when compared to standard psychotherapy. It's about the relationship to myself or self-esteem, but generally speaking this is entirely different as against the standard session of psychotherapy, much more pleasant, powerful, effective, and you feel that something really has been achieved. Ever since I've been 15, I suffered from severe depressions all that time. However, I've been bringing up 5 children and working in 3 companies. Though I was offered a disability pension, I learned how to simply cope. After ketamine first dose, I felt the lightness of being, and after 3 years I started to gradually lose it. I called my psychiatrist and we agreed to repeat it 3 times, as a matter of fact. So that was a month ago, and incredible thing is that I felt the lightness of being again. At that point of time it is a breakthrough, because you feel you want to live again. You have the willingness to live, and I never want to get back to taking antidepressants. And I'm being sad. I still have time for the third story. It really is a specific case. He was given psilocybin and is a candidate to compassionate use thereof, which would be an ideal case one day. Well, I got into the study because I've been repeatedly resistant to antidepressant drug, and I've tried multiple types. Antidepressants have a number of negative impacts, which I felt both in my psyche as well as body. To begin with, I have to discontinue the antidepressants, but after psilocybin, it simply disappeared, and after 20 years, I felt much better than ever before. I felt great, and this went on for 6 months or 9 months, and all of a sudden, it started to deteriorate again, and I was willing to take it up, so I decided to continue with psilocybin taking. The patient has never had any psychedelic experience. He was truly psychedelic naive, and it was a transformative experience. So, you have to hear these stories. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'd like to hand over the floor to the next speaker.